Hello, welcome back everyone to the sponsor track 1. My name is Catherine Chapman and I am happy to present this next duo who will be doing the second talk of our afternoon on access management turnaround. So it's my pleasure to introduce both Alex Rhomberg and Giampaolo Trenta. I hope I got those names right, gentlemen, who are going to delve into their findings. And please make sure to keep your questions to the end, or at least think of some questions that we can ask them in about 5 minutes that we have left. Okay, so without further ado, take it away.
Why the crazy way? And you will see from the slides that we are crazy. We had a dream, a solution which is capable of bridging between business on the left side and IT on the right side, allowing business to understand the access right they already have and the access right that they need, supporting the assignment of access right over business role for reducing the number of individually requested access right, thus increasing productivity, as every employee starting in the company will get all access right immediately from day one, increasing satisfaction of the user, and substantially reducing the number of inconsistency which automatically come when access rights are ordered at individual base. And the solution must also generate precise technical instruction to the IT to give these access rights in response to authorization request, access right explicitly requested, or in response to events in the life cycle of the employee, like a joiner, which is coming, a mover, which is changing his duties inside the company, and a leave. And providing transparency about the access right of every single employee. For this dream to become true, we had to deal with a large number of legacy applications. Application which breaking a little bit our heads because they was working, but they had suboptimal authorizations model and artifact used to control such authorization, or they was only manageable over closed GUI without possibility to instruct the system for implementing some access right, and knowledge in the people which was supporting and was responsible for this application, which was not always at the level which will be required for connecting them to an IAM system. We developed a roadmap which in the first phase was aiming to establish transparency about access right. In a second phase, to introduce automatism to take control over the application to be onboarded as they are, without change. At the third level, cleaning up inconsistencies and aligning the access right. And the fourth stage, optimizing the security model of the application. And the last phase, which was we are not there where we want to be, but we will come in the future, is integrating identity and access management with the enterprise business architecture. Because identity and access management is not an IT topic, it's a business topic requiring business ownership. In a first phase, we evaluated the most promising product on the market. We are looking in the top right corner. And we made a proof of concept with the most promising 2 products on the shortlist. And we selected the winner after the POC. And we started the project. We have not been successful. What you see in the glance prospect of the product is not always the truth. So we learn from our mistakes. We decide to go for our own security model of an EIM system. We designed an access management model, a pure mathematical model, and we then expanded them for making it operational, and we implemented that with the support of some external company, because we had to get this know-how in the company. So in the domain of strategy and architecture, in the domain of the software development, but also in the business processes and organization. So only building the business role catalog take about 1.5 million Swiss francs. Only defining the business role catalog by analyzing the way in which the company is working. In order to be successful, we also had to use uncommon methodology and approach. Creating very intensive and passionate discussion with the staff, which was still captured by the conviction that what they see on the high glance prospect of the selling company is the truth. We made a lot of work, and by the end, we went a very crazy way with a lot of peril, with a lot of people that just was wanting us to fail to demonstrate that it's true what you see in the high glance prospect and in the analyst quadrant. Ability to deliver and completeness of the vision. Yes. So methodology approach will now be presented by Alex, and I am very happy to pass him the microphone. Thank you.
Thank you. So somewhere in the course of the project, I was asked to join it as a lead designer, as an architect, and I met a team that was quite disillusioned with the capabilities of the product that was implemented. And first I tried to rally them behind the product and say, come on, it's top right, it was the winning product, we evaluated this, we have to make it run, that it can't be that bad. And I tried to stop the voices discrediting the product. I didn't succeed. Obviously, they started to explain me what the problem is. And that said, okay, we have to bring in an implementation partner. We can't do this. You can't run an IAM project with we don't have the large enough IT. We want the provider who has seen the same problems that we encounter already at other customers. And an implementation partner who learns that product. And we were even by the provider, they didn't really support us in finding an implementation partner. At the end, we did not find an implementation partner. So basically, we had this product, we have implemented it for access rights recertification, but could not use it for access rights management, and we were at a dead end. And what were the options now? Either we tell management, let's evaluate the new product. And you can, in your mind, you can hear how the blinds go down if you say, let's start. By the way, it was the second product already, so now that was not good, let's go for the third product. Sure, management is very happy to pay $4,000 again to start all over. So we thought, we have so much hybris, we can do it better on our own. And that's what we propose to management. Let's try to build our own with some different approaches. And different approaches means let's look at the components of a commercial product. Let's open the hood and we'll see, of course, at the core, there is the management engine, which calculates all the access rights, which keeps track of who has what's in the which Active Directory groups and so on are part of an access right, what is in the business roles, who has ordered what, who needs to be removed, access rights and so on. Then there's the kiosk, self-order, where you can go and order your access rights. There is the reporting engine, where you can give out the compliance and audit what all the access rights are. You can make reports of the access rights of any user or who uses what application and so on. And finally, the crown jewels is the connectors. The commercial products, they come with a huge box of connectors, usually not free because there's a lot of investment in them. They come in with your proof of concept. They plug into the virtual machine of Active Directory, of SAP, of 10 different target systems. Say, look here, 5 minutes, we connect it all, we press on the button, it's all provisioned. It's all fine. That's how we do it. It will not take 5 minutes, it will take 5 days, and then everything you have is nicely managed. If you do that, what you get is you are the go-to guy. The IAM team is responsible to connect all the applications. They have the box of connectors. So one by one, they have to go to the application, beg for permission to be able to connect that connector, and then count and finally notice that, oh, this target application, the way it's set up in our company, unfortunately, it doesn't match the virtual machine of the sales engineer in the proof of concept. It's a bit different. We have to customize the connector. But it's the problem of the IAM team. And you lose a lot of time coordinating with the target guy. If something fails, if the target application implements a new version, installs a new version, are you sure they're going to tell you that they changed? They just install a new version, and at the end of the UAT phase or beginning of production say, hey, your connector fails, your access rights don't arrive. Fix it. Because you're responsible. And so I've observed projects where basically you take, for every application to connect, you have the IAM team working a couple of months to implement the connector, to coordinate with the target team, to get access, to get the correct access rights into the application, and finally to connect it so you can fully provision this application automatically before you go on to the next team. And we decided, as we said, we build our own. We obviously did not have the resources to build this box of connectors, these crown jewels, where any commercial product has put a lot of investment in. So what we did is we say, let them come to us. We don't bring it to them, let them come to us. So all we do, by the way, we also, the kiosk, we don't need the kiosk as well. We have one central business request fulfillment tool where the target is you can order everything from a new office chair to a phone to access rights. So we don't need that in a commercial product. And we said, instead of building those connectors, we do provision into Active Directory, and the rest, we just set it up for grabs. So if you don't consume from the Active Directory, you can go to a very simple REST API and ask for the access rights for your application, and then implement those access rights. Use the APIs or change your data. I mean, some of the products you directly have to change the database. And we, in the IAM project, in the central team, we don't need the service accounts with the change rights to every user database in the company. We don't need to know all the releases of the target application when their data model or their API might change. We communicate over a very stable, fixed, and pretty simple API. And if an incident arises, it's really simple to see, is that access right present? I mean, an incident means somebody calls and says, I don't have access to the application. First thing we check in the GUI of the IAM system, is it there? Second thing we check, is it available on the interface? And if yes, it's clear it's on the target application side. They have to check their connector and their configuration. So with the other method, usually there's a lot of communication and time lost juggling tickets forth and back. And here it's really very simple to pinpoint the location where a problem is or who is responsible for resolving the problem. Of course, and one amazing thing, we designed this with the view of we don't want to be responsible for this, and we want to have the responsibilities clearly aligned. And one amazing thing that happened that I definitely did not foresee was these connectors were built in parallel. It's not so surprising, but actually we had like building a connector took in average about, I think it was between 3 and 5 person days. So it's not a huge process. Usually coordination to be able to do that and to get the windows to test it from a central team takes more time. And those target applications, they were able to do it in parallel because they were not waiting for one central team to do it one after the other. So several of these connectors were implemented. Now, of course, we had a number of applications that said, your access model is way too simple for us. You will never understand our 4-dimensional access control model with the variables in every dimension where we can individually cut the access rights to the time of the day and the person and the shoe size and so on. And we said, well, we do have a job, which is we at least have to control some aspects. We want to know who is an admin and who is an auditor inside the application. We actually don't need to know every detail. If you want, we can implement your application manually, which means if somebody gets an access right, you will get a ticket to implement it. That's the way they did it everything manually before anyway. And now we said, okay, we keep it manual. We just want to know who has what, but we'll send you a ticket if somebody gets an access right, and you can configure the details yourself. And this way we were not stopped for a long time trying to redesign their access control model. And the funny thing is that the larger applications, some with more than 1,000 users, they start to think that it's not so funny to every day get a couple of tickets and manually configure, and maybe couldn't we work together to maybe somehow streamline these access rights and start trying to automate it. And it's way more fun if this is a pull from the application than if you're trying to force them from a central team, if you try to force it on them. So that's a process when we said no matter, we'll do it manually, you'll get tickets, no problem. Now people come and say, well, you talked about automation. How can we actually implement that? You're welcome. Let's talk about it. Now, another important feature that we also did not have the resource to implement is, of course, reconciliation. An access team, an access management tool is responsible, in the standard industry sense, it is responsible for provisioning the access rights directly into the heart of the application, reading back what's there, calculating the differences, and then starting a huge workflow to resolve the differences, everything integrated in the tool. Vastly complex, as said, not in our budget. So, well, our approach was, again, pretty simple. We said, no, we don't do reconciliation, because reconciliation means there are two valid meanings, two valid positions. There are no two valid positions. There is only one valid position, and that's in the central management system. And if that differs from the target application, then the target application is wrong. And you can either go to the front and order the access right, or you can fix the situation in the target application. Well, we will not play police continuously. We will just have a contract which says you have to follow the orders that come from the IAM system. And of course, when this was first proposed, but an audit will never accept it. And then I said, okay, I already talked to audit, and these are the conditions on which they accept it. So for the automated connector, the condition is that they implement a couple of test cases which prove that if you change access rights locally, then they are overwritten. And for the manual connector, that means every quarter you have to confirm that everything you have in your local application matches the calculated state of the IAM system. So it's again a manual process, and it's not fun. If you have 5 users in your system, it's absolutely no problem. It takes you 10 seconds. So it's not worth to implement automatism if you have 5 users. If you have 2,000 users, then every time, every ticket you get, you will be a little tiny step near to say, maybe we could go to automation. And that follows our goal. And yes, from time to time we see incidents, we see differences, but every time we see such an incident, we get a bit closer to streamlining the whole access control model inside the application with our business processes. We get a little bit away from the position where we say every person must have 100% exact these access rights that they need, because that is, you can configure that at a single point in time, and that will deteriorate. And to where we say we have a group of person who has a well-managed set of access rights. Maybe they have 5% more access right than they actually need, but they are managed continuously. And in the end, this approach, we've been working on it since 3 years. It was right about 3 years ago when we asked for the permission to go with our own, to prove that we can do it. We started onboarding about 3/4 of a year later with the first kernel of the product. It was completely implemented by an implementation partner, so completely programmed according to our specifications and the cooperation we had with a very well knowledgeable company. In that time, we onboarded 665 applications, or around that, with some 7,000 access rights that can be ordered in the central kiosk. There is about 10,000 more that are automatically generated for privileged access management. There is about 500,000 of access right assignments in the whole system, half of which in production is assigned to business role. Giampaolo and his team is continuously working hard on that to improve that ratio, because eventually we would like to go to 80% automated through business roles. And all in all, it was about 5 person days investment per attached application that we have, or about half a day per orderable access rights, with no license cost. Of course, we have the support. We have continuously ongoing development for further features to improve privileged access management, maybe to attach the host, the mainframe to it, and so on. And in that time, without our support, about 30 custom connectors were built to automate the provisioning in these custom applications who don't take their stuff from Active Directory. Okay.
Thank you very much for that fascinating presentation. Does anyone have any questions for Alex or Giampaolo? Anything? Okay, we've got one right there.
about the connectors, you said they had to build all the connectors to your central system. So also for standard application like SAP or other standard application, or just for the own connectors?
Well, the only connector that we provided was the LDAP connector to Active Directory. So there were about 4 Active Directory with the domains provisioned. And yes, for SAP and all the other applications, the SAP guys are responsible to build their own connectors. Because we don't want to attach to different APIs. We don't want the access rights to write directly into these applications.
Did you just transfer your own job to the different application that way? That meaning either you do it or the application owners will do it.
Yeah, but the difference is the interface between. I mean, the job is not that much different. But if you're in a larger organization, there is a lot of communication overhead. And the communication overhead with this approach almost drops to 0. And that makes a huge difference. I mean, as I said, we had the first implementation of a connector. I think it took 3 person days all in all. So it's really, it's a minor job. And if you have to go with the central team to that application, ask them for access right, ask them for permission, ask them tell them what's about, ask them for a window. When can we do this together? When do you have time? They never have time. They have different features to deliver, and so on. So it's not that the programming work is the same or is even a bit more. But this is tiny compared to the whole coordination.
As a former CISO, when the proposal came from Alex, I was immediately fascinated because I put myself in the position of the SAP guy, that they are very concerned about the access on their system. So having someone which is coming remotely and writing in the heart of their system and changing the access right on their own in writing in structure of data, which might change at the next release, was making these people fearing that. But offering a service in which they can consult and to see what have to be the target state, and they are in charge for making that, for reflecting this change in their own application with their own control, this make these people more open in discussing about that. Because at the beginning people were selling, no way that you are writing in my application.
Yes. And we also had a couple of large sessions where we explained the whole concept. And there was not a single application owner who said, no, you have to come to me and write into my database. Most of them said, it's cool, I'm in charge. I can stay in charge. And you don't mess with my data. So, and the other aspect is, what I mentioned is you can parallelize the whole work. Yes, it's on the bottom it's the same amount of programming work, but you can parallelize it. And really the interface is so simple. I mean, there's no know-how needed on our side. There's absolutely 0 know-how. In 5 minutes you can understand the interface. On the target application side, there's the difficulty. So I'd rather take this know-how than our know-how.
Okay, we have a couple minutes left, and I think we have another question right there in the back.
Yeah, after the connection, you did or you plan to do an analysis about segregation of duties, of the roles that different applications, so different users have in the different applications, and then you made a business role afterwards, so is not thinking about it?
Thank you for the question. This is exactly the area in which we are spending most of the time. As we are coming from a regime in which access rights were asked individually, following often a trial and error approach, you might imagine the quality of the access right. So basically, in theory, you should do a top-down solution in which you are defining the role and analytically you are just putting stuff inside. This approach might work, but we wanted to achieve immediate result to show the potential of the solution, what we did was that onboarding the application as they are, with all the access rights as they are. So my colleague, which was in charge of that, he had one task: onboard assist. Don't discuss about the correctness of access right before they are assigned directly. After the onboarding, they are assigned over structure controlled by EIM. And after my work is starting, I was the broad guy which was discussing about inappropriate access right and sometimes removing them. And this was necessary because in order to include access right in business role from the bottom-up perspective, you need a minimum of quality of the access right, which are direct assigned, and a minimum of quality of the assignment of the role. After we even implemented our own role mining algorithm, and we was able to, it's not artificial intelligence, it's pure mathematical statistic. We was able to find out pattern. And after, when we had pattern, they have to go on my table. I used also to work as business analyst some years, so I understand very well how the bank processes are running. And if we found a business explanation for the access right for this role, because the role are described about all the activity performance, not just a name. This is the reason why it cost 1.5 million in building the business role catalog. And it costs even more in maintaining it, I can tell you, because the organization is moving. So by matching the description of the access right and description of the role and finding a correspondence, I telling, yes, that makes sense. And after we include the access rights in the role. But I tell you, this is a very hard job, which is underestimated. It's really underestimated.
I'm afraid that's all the time that we have, but Alex and Giampaolo, we can catch you at your stand right in the hall. If anyone has any questions or wants to link up with them, you can find them.